So now I'm going to take one of my side A pieces that I want to be in the middle of the purse. These, both of mine have a slip pocket in it. And when I was cutting out this piece, I made some marks. The middle top, middle bottom, and these two marks here that are for the zipper ends. So when I go to put these in place, I look at the back, look for my mark, and that's where this seam goes, right here. Pin that into place. And I'm pinning it on this right side of this fabric. Okay, I'm going to zip these back up so it's easier to see. So I follow this side around till I get to this seam, and I match it up with my purple mark right here. And I'm going to clip that, and then I find my center down here, and oh, this is a little tricky. I should have made my mark on the right side, but here's the center right here, and I'm going to match that to the bottom. Okay, and then this top one, you'll just have to adjust it till it works right. So let's start with the bottom. So I clip it along the straight edge. I'm going to go over here and clip this along the straight part. Okay, and here I have the corner. So I usually just stick one clip right there. You can adjust your other clips if this worked out pretty perfectly, but if your other clips, if you need to adjust things as you go, then do that. So I'll do this straight side. And right here. And this one, it feels like I have a little extra here. So I'm going to kind of just move this over a little bit. That still fits well, and this corner is just a little bit better. There. Okay. Usually I get to the top, I kind of try to eyeball where the center is. I've tried marking the center of the zipper, but usually I end up having to fix it anyway. So I do this straight side here, and the straight, oh, my zippers are going to be in the way. Straight side here, then I'll go from the middle. It looks like I could use a little bit more over here. So I'm going to move this just a little bit over. And thankfully zippers are on the bias, and so you can kind of stretch that to fit. Same thing over here, stretch it to fit. Okay, so I am left with this gusset sewn or clipped all the way around to one of my side A pieces. Now we're going to sew all the way around. And you can sew either right on top of your previous seam or just a little to the left. I'd like to do just a little to the left so that when this opens up later on, you won't see the seam. And I'm also going to, I have a button I can push to make the needle go down when I'm not sewing. I'm going to push that. Careful around the corners. Try to push your gusset as flat as possible. It helps to have the previous seam. Okay, my phone died, so I had to, it's charging right now, and I had to take my microphone out. So hopefully you can still hear me. I'm going to keep sewing all the way around the edge of this. Quarter inch seam allowance. Careful around the corners. And I do like to move the zippers away from where I'm sewing, because otherwise sometimes there'll be a little loop around the zipper. Okay, I sewed all the way around. Now I need my other piece. And if you thought that part was tricky, you're gonna love this part. Okay, so we take our mark, we match it up with the seams. We match up the bottom. This time we have a mark on the other side to match up. Then I'm going to pin around the rest of the way. Okay, I'm now done with clipping all the way around the outside, but on this side, this time when I sew, here's the bottom, I am going to leave a gap. I want it to be about 5 inches. That makes it easier to turn. Easier. So I'm going to leave that part open. And now I'm going to sew all the way around this outside edge. This can be kind of a headache. You have to be especially careful around the corners. Make sure your gusset on the inside or your zipper is staying as flat as possible. And make sure you forward and back stitch here, because when you turn it later on, if you don't back stitch, then your stitches might come out. Now, one thing I could have done is sew the other way and sew directly on top of my seam from before. But I didn't do that. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. You can see the zipper really wants to stick up right here. So I push it down as much as I can so that this will be neater. Flatten up there. Flatten that zipper. Come on, zipper, get flat. Don't want to sew over the wrong part of the zipper. That would be a headache to have to undo the stitches and turn it back right side out. So I'm going to push this down. There. And you might wonder, what's this other stitching that I'm stitching next to? This was the basting stitch for the pocket, so that's why I'm not following that line. Okay. Now I am going to take my scissors and cut around the seam at the corners. Now this one's a little messy. I think I'm going to redo that just a little bit. Now that it's on, that'll look better if I just redo that. That's a little better. I'm going to trim this seam and trim this seam. Alright, now we get to turn this right side out and hope everything worked. Okay. Push everything out. If you need to, you can get some sort of point turner. see what it looks like on the inside here. Hopefully it's pretty even on these edges. And this is going to be the top part here. So hopefully that's pretty uniform. Okay, great. I'm going to open up this gusset here. And this is where this seam is open over here. So I'm going to push that seam down, fold this seam in, and you can hand stitch this, but no one's going to see this. It's on the very inside bottom part. I like to just stitch this closed with my machine. But you don't want to be stitching on the gusset. You want to be stitching on the side A part. I keep calling it side A because that's what I've named the piece in the pattern. Side, piece A, side, or something like that. So okay. Oops. Just trimming my tails. And then that is the finished thing. And here you are, your centerpiece, your center section is done.